Previously in X-Men. After saving the world from the brink of chaos and the world believing them dead, the team has been given the chance to begin anew and strike their enemies from the shadows. I am Jason Lapidus, artist of Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 164 of our ongoing read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we take a look at Marvel Comics Presents numbers 1, 2, and 3 by Chris Claremont, John Buscema, Klaus Janson, cover date of early September 1988, mid-September, and no cover date. Ominous. Chris can't be here for this episode, but of course he'll be back soon. We should not be reading this yet. We should really be reading 229 first, and then going into reading Marvel Comics Presents issues 1, 2, and 3 featuring Wolverine. But the timing of such, the timing doesn't work out that way, and so we're going to pivot. You'll pivot, I'll pivot, we're all good. Now, Claremont has basically written everything X-Men since about 1975. He has guided all the characters from that point. For anyone who's been watching the show, you know this already. This isn't news to you. And I say it over and over again. And I'm captivated. And I think other creators are captivated by the work that Claremont does over those 15 years. Marvel Comics Presents has 4 stories in each one. And they're about, let's say, 8 pages each. So different characters and different creative teams on each of the 4 stories and the ongoing bi-weekly title. Claremont is writing the first arc of Wolverine in this series. So he's keeping it on brand. And it is the Wolverine voice that we know and, in my case, love, which is totally fine. By November, which is only a matter of weeks later, Wolverine number 1. Why is it that the same writer starts writing Wolverine, published in September in this series, and then by November is in this series, which is only a matter of weeks later? And I don't have the answer. I've been looking into it to see if I could figure out why the same creative team essentially would go from one book to the other. So in this series, or in the first, I believe it's about 8 issues of Marvel Comics Presents, we get Chris Claremont writing, John Buscema drawing, Klaus Janson on inks, and by the time we get to Wolverine, a couple weeks later, or several weeks later, still John Buscema on pencils, just different inker. We've got the amazing Al Williamson on inks. Why does this Wolverine ongoing series essentially start a couple months early in another title? Does it work so that you can read the storyline in Marvel Comics Presents and go right into Wolverine? An answer back might be they wanted to see if it worked. They wanted to see if sales would work. And I reject that personally. I reject that because they don't have the sales numbers in time to greenlight a new series when it's only September to November. So you don't know whether it's going to be a success and start the project. You've started both projects, or you've started the one Wolverine project. My only guess so far is they wanted to, as Ed would say, as Ed Piskor would say, hotshot. They wanted to hotshot this title. So get this ongoing series going by adding in a sure thing. So taking the first arc that was planned for the Wolverine ongoing series and going to press with it in Marvel Comics Presents to boost the sales, boost the interest and readership on Marvel Comics Presents, so that the other creators could come on later with other characters and keep that series going. That's my thought. It's a theory. It's a theory based on the information I have available. I would love to be better informed. If you know decisively one way or the other whether the theory I'm presenting here is wrong or it is right, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know. Throw a comment in the section below and tell me I'm way off. School me. Please throw me put a link in there. I'd love to read an article or see an interview where Chris Claremont or John Buscema or editorial shares what their vision was for starting Wolverine's solo adventures in another title, and within a matter of weeks jumping over to the ongoing series. I also wanted to talk about John Buscema, not your prototypical X-Men artist. Been working in comics since I think the 50s. Joins Marvel mid to late 60s. As Kirby leaves in 69, artists like John Buscema and John Romita take on the lion's share of the workload over at Marvel in terms of flagship books and branding. So when you think of Marvel at the end of the 60s and through the early 70s, John Romita Sr.'s branding look and art direction, and John Buscema's workhorse load and rendering style become really entangled with how you envision Marvel, or at least how I do. Buscema is probably best known for his run on Avengers around the 50s, number 50s and through, where, you know, characters like the Vision were introduced, Black Panther's on the team, Hawkeye is in the role of Goliath at the time. And then, of course, he did a really long run on Conan the Barbarian and the magazine, and his black and white work on Conan is seminal. He is one of the best drawers around at Marvel, maybe all time. Whether you like his style or not, he could render the human figure as beautifully and powerfully as anybody else. Really top-notch work. From the outside, it looks like he has a very positive relationship with publisher or editor-in-chief and then publisher Stan Lee, which is why we get Buscema being the art side of how to draw comics the Marvel way, which is one of the ways that people like me know John Buscema best. Kids like me tore through that book, you know, end to end, page, cover to cover, and his pencils in that and his instruction is foundational to a lot of the ways that I thought of drawing comics early on. He's worked on just about every series at some point, but it's well known that Buscema did not enjoy drawing superheroes, after a certain point. Conan the Barbarian was really his sweet spot of the kinds of things he wanted to draw. So the idea of him hopping onto a costume superhero book in 1988 would maybe be surprising considering his taste, even though he just did a huge run on the Avengers again in the 80s that I remember reading as a kid too, that I enjoyed. So by 88, we're also getting, Arthur Adams has been in the game for a couple of years and has impacted X fans. We've seen Barry Windsor Smith's phenomenal work on X-Men. The way those guys render is labor intensive. And we've seen the Frank Miller 4-issue run and the kind of dynamics and graphic composition that he brought to those 2-page spreads. And then we get this series. So keep that in mind if you can. Put in your mind, the way Arthur Adams renders Wolverine, the way that Barry Windsor Smith renders Wolverine. And then we're going to get this storyline in Marvel Comics Presents, where John Buscema, inked by Klaus Janson, does a different take on Wolverine, a different take on the way the pages look. Also keep in mind, Todd McFarlane is on the scene as well. Todd McFarlane is working on Spider-Man and Hulk. So these are the kinds of things that are in the minds of people when they're picking up a Wolverine title. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, myself included. These things are on the brain. This end of 80s rise of image creators. Jim Lee is over on Alpha Flight, Punisher War Journal. We're seeing the way these guys are drawn in other series. You know what I mean? We're seeing the way that younger artists are drawing. And you get Buscema, who is a veteran, who knows how to work economically, who doesn't want to draw superheroes in costumes. Let's check this out. Neat looking cover, very memorable. It stands out. Just such an odd interpretation of the mask. And I would love to find out more about that from Mr. Simonson one day. It opens with what I think the reader is expecting. A pose not far from what Frank Miller delivered in the Wolverine Limited series back in the early 80s. And this is printed on newsprint. And this issue is not, it's not worn out in terms of, like, you can see I didn't read it all that much. This is the copy I got in 1988 when I was a kid. So it's not that well worn because I probably never read past the Wolverine story. I flipped through the whole thing, but it didn't catch my eye. But it just, maybe they printed so many copies, or the version I got is late in the run, but you can see quite a bit of fading with the ink. Like, this is not a crisply printed comic. In terms of credits, of course, we got Chris Claremont on writing, the legend John Buscema on pencils. We get the legend Klaus Janson on inks, Tom Warzakowski on letters, Glynis Oliver on colors. So we're getting quite a bit of the X-Men team here, right? The brand is intact. So it's going to look and feel a lot like X-Men in terms of the voice that we hear from Wolverine. It's not a different writer. It is Claremont, who's been writing this character now since basically 1975. He is essentially the sole writer of this character. And I'm reminded, you know, my bias, yes, we all know, if you've been watching this show, that I keep commenting that there isn't the memory issue with Wolverine. Wolverine isn't a guy who doesn't know his past. That is an addition by, I think, other writers later. We're going to read the entirety of Claremont's run, and we're going to see if we ever come across that. But the character's gone on now for 13 years without having to create an added stakes or added flaw to the character. At this point in time, the character's flaw is the one that is, I would say, you know, enhanced by Claremont and Miller, where it's about him trying to be the honorable samurai he wants to be, but failing at it because of his temper and his shortcomings. His Marvel flaw, his character flaw, is that, not that he doesn't know who he is and he's on a mission of self-discovery. That, I think, comes later, and I'm wondering when it comes in and who brings it about. And a lot of other people, they remind me, you know, like, hey, just because your Wolverine's this doesn't mean that my Wolverine's not valid. And I 100% agree intellectually. No question about that. Everyone, the version that you fall in love with or that you have at your formative age, that is completely a valid interpretation of the character. I know, as seeing this character evolve over my lifetime, I don't think the character has gotten more interesting by making his memory full of holes. I think it's, you know, again, it's just an opinion and not a right or wrong, but I think it's added like a very manufactured set of stakes where it doesn't enhance the character for me, and that's totally okay. Every writer needs to put their stamp on things, and I think it feels like it's one of those to me. And again, to each their own. And I have to put that, my bias, in check, and that's part of the process of talking about any kind of text, is recognizing where your bias is and doing your best to attempt to get rid of it. But of course, it's impossible. Mignola point here. This is not Mignola, of course, but when Mignola renders in ink, he leaves room for like these little splotches of emptiness in his black inks, like the way we see on Wolverine's upper inner thigh, or on Wolverine's chest, these little gaps in the way that it printed. Mignola almost seems to like fake that for effect, and I find it really effective and really interesting. Could be the cover image. Strange to have an image like this in a short story with only, 8 pages of Wolverine to go with a splash, but a beautiful, like, it feels like all the emphasis was put here as opposed to on the rest of the story. When you read the rest with me, you'll see. John Buscema, another just thing to note, he's not in love with superhero work at this moment in his career. He's not a huge fan of like the tights and all that stuff. So him taking on Wolverine is a bit of a joy, but this is probably the best piece I think he draws, and maybe in this series at least. So take it for what it is. Wolverine in costume. Here we go. Night's my kind of time, and this is my kind of town. I'm Wolverine. Of course you are. This is called The Good Guy. And I haven't talked about Janson's inks yet, but we best know him probably at this moment in time, in '88, from his run on Daredevil with Frank Miller and from The Dark Knight Returns. And I think at this moment in time, he's also working on The Punisher, probably the ongoing series. Is it maybe about that 87, 88? And he's doing pencils and inks there. But he is a loose and fast inker in that he can sketch things small and quickly that gives the impression of what you want to, like, so it's readable and you take it in, but it's not necessarily exact. So his version of these houses, up close, great, totally reads that they're little ones far away. And then he'll do the detail work where it really matters on those buildings, you know, to show the contrast between the haves and have-nots in this city of Madripoor. And great work on the colors. Like, where's the difference between the sky and the water? It doesn't matter, right? If you're there, they bleed, and in this moment, it just reads so beautifully. So great work by Glynis Oliver, not to overstate or spoon feed us that answer. I think it works really well. I love Klaus Janson's inks on tight pencils. I love him over John Romita. Obviously love him over Frank Miller. Let's see how he is over the maybe fast pencils of John Buscema, who is a famous for his workhorse capacity, among other artistic attributes. The city's Madripoor, capital of a small island principality south of Singapore. 21st century living, cheek by jowl alongside the 18th ultra-rich gouging space from the poorest of the poor. No rules here. Anything goes, and everything can be bought. People are what sold the most. Lives become commodities, usually cheap. When I'm involved, though, it can cost the world. Again, a double splash. So we're getting a lot of the real estate in this issue, which is small real estate, we're getting used by now a double splash and a splash previously. Hey, what do you think of the not full bleed splash? You know, the splash with still the gutters on the side. It's not going to the very edge of the page to where it's trimmed. I think it's beautiful when it's framed too. I think it works really well in that moment. And this is much more Claremont-y. In terms of page layouts, we're not getting any like anchor images the way that the future image guys are doing. So by that I mean we're not getting a central image on this page that can make the page look like it is ideal for purchase. Like, if you were to buy this page, you're kind of not getting anything great on it, like not a single great image. Maybe if this was done by, let's say, the image guys or one of them, you might get this as a big one across the middle. So you're getting really something awesome to look at. Huge, that big action moment in not just an even sized tier, but maybe a double sized tier. And you get these two small across the top, and you get, or maybe three across the top, so that this one gets to be big, and you get these small along the bottom. Or you're getting rearranged so that we're getting like walking Logan as like this big kind of guy along the side, and the other panels go tick, 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 tick down that way. But something that the page looks like it is more graphic and maybe more commercial. This seems kind of Kirby-esque and by the book, but a lot of mid-sized characters. So I found this when I was reading in 88. You know, Spider-Man has got Todd McFarlane going, and I wanted something way more modern, way more contemporary. This felt to me old-fashioned and unappealing, especially like just even something as simple as the panel layout. One thing to note, he does do this breakup of the kind of Kirby 6-panel thing, and you get this feedback from a few different cartoonists, like I think Jaime Hernandez of Love and Rockets. He often talks about how, yeah, just break it up a little bit. Don't do the straight down. It creates a little more visual interest to have some asymmetry. So maybe you do this one here, right? That one in the middle, and this one a little to the side, or whatever you're going to do, or also a little that way. But it creates visual interest to not have that gutter line going straight down the middle. Create that asymmetry for added visual interest and have added graphic appeal. And I think Jaime cites Carl Barks of Scrooge McDuck for that. Touristas. I love a tourista. Touristas mostly stay high town, up on the peaks. In the gleaming skyrise hotel malls, cocooned by air-conditioned comfort, protected by glass walls that allow them to see the world outside but not be touched by it. Low town's different. It smells. Spice from the cook shops. People sweat steaming in the heat. Laundry overhead, trash in the gutters. More sense than a body can put names to. A human jungle. As teeming and dangerous as any natural one. Suits me fine. People see me. They give me a wide berth. Recognizing instinctively that I'm a predator, prowling his turf, and maybe that I'm more than simply human as well. I'm a mutant, with senses keener than most folks can even conceive of. So we're getting the establishing shot. I love the coloring. You know, it looks kind of like the way city lights reflect off of things that are wet. And this is where one of the spots where Janson just kills. Look at that. Look at that street, making that look wet. Just by what he would do is, to create this, you do the whole thing in black, and then you add white media after. And so when the page gets photographed, and then eventually when it's printed, it's just printed color over white, but the white looks organic and fluid because he's taking white media and going like that with it on a brush. It looks really, really beautiful, very effective to make the street look wet. I need a drink of my coffee. Hold on. A couple of breaths tells me pretty much all there is to know about the immediate vicinity, namely, trouble. All be silent. Do as you're told. None be hurt. Okay, so we're getting some characters here. I'm not going to do accents. That's fine. Except for you, O'Donnell. Boss wants you hurt bad. Doesn't like you opposing him. You wish to live, you pay a lot to regain his goodwill. So I guess we can think this is O'Donnell getting punched in the solar plexus. Don't much like that. O'Donnell's who I came to see. Surprised, though. Figured a man like him would have long ago worked out his arrangements with the local mob. Nobody's perfect. So Wolverine, we're getting out of costume, walking around in this hat, jacket, totally different vibe, you know, obviously smoking the cigarette, but the drawing doesn't look finished on his face. Like, I found that having just his nostrils as, you know, the central feature there, it looked just so sketchy and unfinished to me, and I had trouble with this image of him as a kid. And the print, like I said before, is really quite blotchy. Yo, chum,
There's a private party, or can anyone join in?
You should have stayed outside, fool.
I'm thirsty. This is a saloon. Punk boy, too young to know better. Thinks he's tough as nails, cock of the walk. Never knows what hits him. His pals don't like that. Life's tough.
Here you can really see how unevenly that black printed onto the newsprint. And then, of course, a little bit of printer weirdness. So the color separations, they did not cut and add on this dark blue or dark bluish purple. Because of all that broken glass, you'd have to cut all around it, make that work. So they just left this as black, and the black ink is not rolling on well in this copy. So it looks like you can just see the blue goes down and then stops. If the blue had continued all the way, it would have filled in and would have been as dark as the buildings at the top there, which would have been great, but all those pieces of little drawing of broken glass make it so that is a very, very tedious job to do with not a lot of time to do it. You see it here too. The blue is over the black, and then it no longer is. Sometimes the drawing exceeds the limitations of the printing process and the coloring process they have to go through.
Nunchuckers. Steel-corded clubs of wood, chained by a link. They'll break bones,
as he takes one across the back of his head.
Too bad for this clown. Mine can't be broken.
As he gives a left chop to the guy's side, sending him flying.
They're laced with adamantium, miracle metal, strongest on earth. Skin breaks as I take out the blade, but that doesn't matter much. The cuts are small. They heal almost immediately. That's the main aspect of my mutant power. A healing factor able to cope with virtually any wound or poison or disease. Here's one Joy Boy wishes he had one.
Nice, as he lands that punch, the guy's, mouth and nose kind of shatter. Fun. I wonder if Wolverine's hair can stay like that under the hat, and obviously it does. It stays quite lupine. It stays in that Wolverine vibe, even when he takes the hat off, after it's been in there, in that humid environment.
Two left, rattled. They're used to taking people down, not the other way around. He hesitates as he draws a bead. All the time I need to get out of the way.
So Wolverine throws a chair at him.
You freeze, Yankee. I'm Canadian, but that's my business.
Try anything, and the lady loses her looks.
Hard to tell whose heart's beating faster, his or hers, both equally spooked. A false move, she's splattered.
You come here, mister.
He's trying to cover his fear with a big mouth. Isn't working. Everyone knows it.
You beg. Maybe I'll let you live.
That's a crock. He's lost too much face. I do as he says. I sign my death warrant. I have a better idea. Go ahead. Pull the trigger. But after you do, bub, then you're mine. He gets the message. Anyone want to call the police for his buddies?
Waste of time. They'll be free inside an hour. Better just toss him on the street and let Roche deal with him.
Whatever you say. Roche. Don't know the name. Punk boy's boss. Figure I'll find out soon enough.
I'm O'Donnell.
I'm obliged. Like I said, I was thirsty. Whatever you like, on the house. I haven't seen your face before. Are you new in town? Just arrived. Passing through. But I have been here before. Long ago. Before Logan became Wolverine. And Wolverine an X-Man. Well, if you're ever feeling lonely while you're here, I'm Sapphire. She's fishing for a name. I don't oblige. O'Donnell lets it ride for now. What brings you to Madripoor? Word is you want information. The place to find it is... Word is you want information. The place to find it is the Princess Bar. Let me try it for a third time. Here we go. Word is you want information. The place to find it is the Princess Bar. Could be. Depends on the question and who asks. I'm going to fudge this name on purpose because it's funnier. Dave Chappelle sent me to find the tiger. That's real interesting, stranger, considering Dave Chappelle is dead. Of course, it says Dave Chappelle, but you can't resist this. So much for the direct approach. All these guns. You point at Wolverine. Next issue, the bad guy. Okay. Put that aside for a second. Let me just show you what's in the rest of this. Some beautiful Swamp Thing. You know, some body horror stuff and monster comics. Neat looking. But the amount of time to draw this looks like a lot. And then, without even, well, we get a to be continued here, and then on to the next story. And this one is a Shang-Chi story, Master of Kung Fu. I really like these colors. This is great. Well, putting him in that golden orange really separates him from the rest. But the pages are really moody. Ooh. Silver Surfer story. Holy Kirby tech. As a kid, Al Milgrom, I think, was the penciler I disliked the most. We get a next issue cover and the back of this by Simonson, who did the front. Wow. You never really get to see. Let's take a look. Hold on. The Wolverine is that Silver Surfer. Let's see if we can get to open this up. There we go. Nice. Very cool. The second issue has a cover by Alex Saviuk and Klaus Janson on inks. And we can see lots of Janson-isms. I'm not very familiar with Saviuk's work, but this is a great cover. And yeah, good looking one. In the corner box, we get The Captain, which is Steve Rogers in a secondary role once he's left the title of Captain America. To go to the back, we get, still, of course, this is by Saviuk and Janson, and we get Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, the continuation of that Man-Thing story. Both of these are continuations, and this is a new one by Al Milgram, I believe, in the back. The second last, or so the last story. Here we go, continuation. This is the same creative team as the first issue, given that it is serialized, and they probably worked on it almost right away. The series, I should say, is, see, it says mid-September. It's bi-weekly. So they're pumping these out every couple weeks. So the guys are doing 16 pages per month on this, which is easier than 22 pages a month. Save the Tiger, starring Wolverine. The bad guy. On the exclusive, moneyed heights overlooking the Southeast Asian seaport city of Madripoor. Young gentlemen, I am displeased. This comic smells, by the way. It is musty. And I love it. I set you the simplest of tasks. The chastisement of an innkeeper who refused my most generous offer of protection, and you failed. Mr. Roche, please, sir, we did our best. Everything was going great, till that stranger showed. And against him, for all your numbers, not to mention your vaunted prowess in the martial arts, you were less than nothing. There's a big guy standing on a bridge. Again, we're talking about how things are represented by Janson. Like, it just reads as ripples in the water. It just reads as leaves on trees. He doesn't have to draw everything. He just has to imply it with those brush strokes, and we interpret it as it's intended. So the stuff is loose, and sometimes that really works. Sometimes it does not. You are my hands, the public image of my strength. If you lose respect, so also do I. Give us another chance, sir. We'll do better. That remains to be proven. I have already engaged an enforcer to take your place. If you defeat him, you may remain in my service. Interesting coloring choice in this one. We know he's overlooking the water, right? He's looking down to that. So I would love it if instead we get maybe a green background or a dark green background, and we get the light bouncing up off the water, because Janson and Buscema have illuminated the bottom of Roche's face. We're getting the natural daylight, or maybe the light from the moon or wherever, it's from something nearby, hitting the top of him. So I would love that double lighting, because they're indicating that with the ink work. But maybe due to time constraints, we're just getting him in yellow. So it's a good looking panel anyway, but maybe it would have been narratively more effective with a double lighting by two color choices, not just the one color choice. Because like I said, the ink is indicating that there's more than one light source. Something from his back left hitting the side of him, and something from underneath hitting the bottom of his nose, the bottom of his lip, the under of his brow, the palm of his hand. I would have liked that. His name is Razor Fist, and he wears thigh-high boots and waxes his bikini zone. The duel is to the death. Begin. Let's talk about Razor Fist for a moment. As some of you might recognize the character from Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. This version wears two razors, one on each hand, and that is why his thighs are so silky smooth. He cannot get dressed on his own. He cannot go to the bathroom by himself. He cannot brush his own teeth. He either has them as detachments, which this does not ever show, and then has hand attachments, or he has helpers, right? He has attendees who take care of his itches that need, his itches that need scratching, and his wiping and handling of his bathroomly duties. Who knows? This costume is so uninspired to me, and so forgettable and comedic. I don't find this to be an imposing character, regardless of the fact that he has 2 giant razors on his hands. Back to the inking, I do think also double lighting here is indicated, and it is delivered, that there is a highlight around, the outside there, and then the inside of his legs as well. So I'm not sure how we're supposed to interpret this, like where the light sources are. It's very mixed, and it adds a reflective quality to him, as if his skin and his costume are either metallic or pleather or something quite shiny, and it's not effective at all. I thought he was quite imposing in the movie, in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and this version seems ridiculous so far. One guy, we can take him easy. We couldn't take the other guy. Shut up, fool. Look at the guy's a freak. He's got no... And yeah, right through him. Big dude. He slashes through this dude. And then that guy's, we know he's dead. Come on. He's flipped over, slammed into that dude, jumps on his back. Like this pose, I'm sorry. He's just so relaxed as he stabs this guy on 2 sides. My lord, my lord, my lord. The gang slaughtered in a handful of seconds. That won't happen to me. You're going to be my ticket out of here, Roche, or I'll gut you where you stand. No, you won't. Ow. Now, how big is this dude? Wow. But in another sense, you are quite correct. I shall indeed be your ticket out of here. From this world to the next. Snaps his neck. Let us pray for better luck and a more fruitful life in your next incarnation. Your dossier and reputation are not exaggerated, Razor Fist. I trust you can do as well against the stranger my former employees encountered at the Princess Bar before he disrupts any more of my activities. The man's history, Mr. Roche. Splendid. Once he's eliminated, we can then deal with this upstart tiger who presumes to challenge me. Just so weird. These stripes are so weird. Such a strange outfit. If you think about it, though, with John Buscema, he's done amazing artwork. I don't know how many great characters he's designed off the top of my head. I know he draws Vision's first appearance, but I wonder if he designed the character, and even if he did, that's fine. But I wonder how many characters he designed in the superhero style. Sure, he's so famous for his work on Conan, and there are new characters all the time. But in terms of superheroes, it's not like he has a list of amazing designs that have endured the test of time. You look at Steve Ditko's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and those are essentially still the same. Look at so many of Kirby's costumes. Many have been changed, many have stayed. I think even more have sort of stayed the same than changed, or at least significantly changed. Even look at Dave Cockrum's X-Men costumes, right? That Nightcrawler, Colossus, those have endured. It's amazing. Even Storms, in varying degrees. Princess Bar is a nice sort of place, but they got the wildest way of making a customer feel welcome. Something I said. Dave Chappelle's a friend. A fortnight ago, he disappeared. Now you show tossing his name around. I want an explanation. Pretty rude attitude, bub, considering how I saved your hide tonight from the local crime lords, strong-arm punk boys. If you're a friend, the place is yours. If not, all bets are off. Fair enough. I found Chappelle in the desert. He'd been tortured by an expert. Those wounds and exposure finished him. He asked me to return this keepsake. This cameo's the lady this place is named after, and her partner. She'll be glad to get it. But I get the feeling, chum, you're not telling everything. I'm not. But that's my business. Suit yourself. You want to make a play, bub? Be prepared to take the consequences. He's tempted. It's in his eyes and stance and sense and scent. Not a man to back off from a challenge. Be an okay scrap, too, if it was fair. But for a normal human being, no matter how tough, against me, ain't no such word as fair. Maybe O'Donnell realizes that. Smart fella. Okay, chum, I'll take you at your word. For now. You've impressed O'Donnell, stranger. That doesn't happen often. And impressed me, too. That happens even less. I'm Sapphire. It's the oldest offer in the book, from the kind of woman who makes it almost irresistibly tempting. But then, figure in the doorway, something awfully familiar about it. Watching me. Our eyes cross for all of a split second, but she knows she's been spotted. Very sharp, very wary. I'm curious, so I follow. No sign of her, but that's not a problem for a mutant with parahuman ultra-keen senses. Got her. Clear as mountain air, but again, a nagging familiarity. A scent I've encountered before. So these pages, again, are sort of this. Here we go. That's nice. A little more visual interest to pretty bland panels overall. Each one is well drawn. You know, they all work. They just look very, very loose with Janson over Buscema. And at the time in '88, I found them old-fashioned and uninspiring. And I think, you know, they're kind of going for that comic strip, pulpy, serialized vibe, which might have been appealing to Buscema to get him involved, because him not wanting to do superheroes was pretty well known. Even though he was on Avengers just before this as well, the Mighty Avengers. Quicker I catch lady, quicker the mystery will be solved. So off I go. By nature, unlike my namesake, Wolverine, I'm a hunter. City or country makes no difference. See, I want more of this, more of the Frank Miller, and I'm not getting enough of it so far. But that's what I'm here for. How great is that sunset? Awesome. That's the best panel in this issue for me. City or country makes no difference. In the end, I'll always nail whatever I'm after. Nice run, darling, but it's over. No! How about you and me have ourselves a chat? I spooked her when I landed. No! But there's no fear now. In voice or in stance. And I should reread how she says that. No! But there's no fear now. In voice or stance. Just rage and defiance. She won't be taken without a fight. She learns the hard way. Ow! That hitting my virtually unbreakable adamantium-laced bones is the next best thing to punching steel. Stop it, girl. I don't mean you any harm. You keep struggling, you'll only hurt yourself. I swing her into the streetlight for a decent look at her face and discover why she's so familiar. You! I know you. Jason Hone. Jason Hone? Jason Hone. Next issue, The Gals. Look at this. Look at this. You only get eyes looking like that in a corpse. What a drawing. Anyway. Oh, here's the thread going through this fear eater thing, going through the characters. Issue 3. Covered by John Romita Jr. and Bob Wyacek. And we get, I mean, this is what I want when I think of John Romita Jr. I want an attempt at something dynamic, something interesting to look at, motion, cinematic. Like, I'm in on that. Just got to say, this moment in time, the Thing has had a secondary mutation, let's call it. And he is in this pointy, rocky state. It didn't last. It's not fun to look at. Probably not fun to draw. But Romita Jr. is sort of stuck because this is where the Thing is at in the moment. And this one's just not working. Just not enough going on there in terms of central focus. Man-Thing barging in on a dog wolf being slaughtered by some cult. Okay. But let's get into this. So, Save the Tiger, starring Wolverine. And we still have the same cast of creators working on this. I do like the attempts at the coloring, and always this purple at night with the yellow. It works on me, these purples and blues. On newsprint, that is. Chapter 3, The Gals. Madripoor, Lowtown. Like, this is so good. Works. And you can tell those metal doors that pull down. Like, it reads as something, which is good. Never fails to amaze me the people you run into in the unlikeliest of places when you least expect it. It can't be Jason Hone. Now, who is Jason Hone? I have to apologize for this. Our timing worked out such that a character that will be introduced in Uncanny X-Men 229, which is the next issue that Chris and I will be reading live on the show, which is the, where we're supposed to be at. We're unable to do that one next, and it leaves an opportunity for us to pivot over to Marvel Comics Presents. So Jason Hone is a character introduced on the first page of that issue. I will say, after having read that issue and having read this, it isn't the biggest of reveals. I just sort of don't care. It's a person he's met before that he's not expecting to find there. And
whether you've come across X-Men 229 or not, it's not really going to change all that much. But we get the introduction of her now anyway, recapped in this issue. So in case you haven't read Uncanny X-Men 229, here we go. We get a chance to sort of go with a bit of a spoiler or recap of that. And maybe in this summary, it will actually help make sense of it in some way, because that issue, there are some things that don't always make a lot of sense in this moment of X-Men. So here we go with this recap.
What the devil you doing here, girl? Dressed like that? She's from Singapore. Her family runs one of the island's merchant banks. Not the biggest or most powerful, but with a top-notch rep as an outfit that was going places. And Jessin, young as she was, and a woman to boot, was one of its financial whiz kids. That doesn't hold up well. Till the morning, the Reavers blasted out of their teleporter portal.
Really? Teleporter portal? You can't just say portal?
And blitzed the place. In less time than it takes to tell, that gang of cyborg freebooters, more machines than men, stripped the bank bare and slaughtered most of the people in it. Jessin, they took with them.
So that's what's going to happen in X-Men 229. And I'm excited. I have a soft spot for the Reavers for a few reasons.
Seems they had all this loot, but no way to use it. They figured to make her do it for them, what she did for the bank.
Let me read that again without the voice to see if I understand how he's... Sometimes his phrasing, like Wolverine's cadence and his syntax, is not what I don't think like him. I'm not used to it in Claremont as well. So it's often hard to read out loud the first time. Seems they had all this loot, but no way to use it. We're good there.
They figured to make her do it for them what she did for the bank.
Nope, I'm putting the word do it in there. It's not it.
They figured to make her do for them what she did for the bank. So, back they went the way they came, to this dump of a derelict town in the middle of the Australian outback, which is where the X-Men found them. My outfit, mutants, like me.
So, for that, join us next time live on Previously in X-Men, where we will be reading that one together.
Heroes too, though, we hardly ever get credit for it. We took the Reavers down, hard and final. Problem then was what to do with them.
This is where shit gets weird to me.
World thinks the X-Men are dead. We want to keep that way, which means either killing our prisoners or making sure they could never talk. Roma, some sort of celestial guardian, the lady who sicked us on the Reavers, came up with a solution. The legendary Siege Perilous. All who passed through, she said, were judged according to the good and ill they'd done, and apportioned a new life accordingly. Too flamin' metaphysical for my taste. I was just glad to be rid of the sludge. But when it came to Jessan's turn...
No, I can't. Please don't make me go. Please don't make me. I won't go through that awful doorway. It isn't fair.
I have to scratch my eyeball.
It isn't fair. I'm not one of them. Why must I be punished? Why can't you simply send me home?
Kid had a point. Even though it jeopardized our security, we backed her up.
The powers of space and time are mine to command, child. I can return you to the place and moment from which you were abducted, if such is your desire.
Yes, oh yes, that it is done, but you may not thank me for it.
That was a while ago, and we got on with our new lives, assumed Jessen'd do the same. Never figured we'd meet again. And sure not like this.
You're mistaken. I've never seen you before. I'm not the person you say I am. Leave me alone. Let me go.
Not without answers.
I have none to give.
Nice move. Street fighting move. Not all what you'd expect from a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard Business School. That's my mistake. Relating to her as what I remember her being, the cultured, sophisticated lady banker.
All right, how about just cultured, sophisticated banker? Cultured, sophisticated lady, comma, banker.
Rather than the scrapper she's become. Cost me. Powder hits like mace. Instantly I'm blind. Coughing, choking, my sense of smell totally gone. My brain cartwheeled out of this world. Nifty Aikido sends my body spinning after it. Right into the path of a truck. Driver bails out. Truck hits me. Hits wall. There's a heck of a mess. Luckily my bones can't be broken. And my mutant powers a healing factor that'll take care of the cuts and bruises. A normal man would have been pretty bad shape. Seeing that I'm not, Justin chooses discretion over valor.
I love that pose for her. I can feel her imbalance and momentum barreling over the stone streets.
She doesn't rabbit far, though. Only to the corner. For some wheels.
Hey, what the? Philly, your bike! Off she goes on the motorbike.
Me? I'm getting my act together. Still pretty much zoned by her dust. I don't even hear her coming.
She gives him a boot right in the butt and sends him into a puddle. That was not nice.
I come up fast, but she's out of reach. No problem. I know her scent. I can follow her trail anywhere. But why bother? She nailed me good. Little slip of a girl. Yuck. Been a fair piece since anyone's done that. Been a fair piece since anybody's done that. I considered how I look. Me, Wolverine, the hotshot warrior. Supposedly the deadliest critter on two legs. But I can't help but laugh.
Laugh? Okay.
Okay, the lady's changed. Everybody does. Some for the better, her evidently not. But that's her business.
Stranger, this doesn't seem to be your night.
Sense familiar. Sapphire's her name. We met at the Princess Bar.
But who can tell? Perhaps your luck's about to change.
Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead.
You know what they say about nothing ventured, nothing gained. You're a royal mess, my sweet. My place is close by if you'd like to tidy up and relax.
Tempting offer. But something about her scent bothers me. Can't say for sure. My senses haven't quite recovered. But best play it wary. But best play it wary. I appreciate the invite, but I'm committed elsewhere.
Lucky woman, whoever she is.
Sapphire's stronger than she looks. I can't break her grip.
Such a pity Sapphire sticks. Doesn't take no for an answer.
I'm drowning. My life strength suddenly overwhelmed, consumed. by a sea of shadow. Nice color choice. Last chance, desperate effort. Everything I have, pathetically weak, does the trick. Surprises us both. I'm free. Oh yeah, need time for my hitting factor to do its work. Stagger blindly, animal on the run. Trying to put as much distance between me and that vampire as I can. Should have realized she's the type that wouldn't have come alone. There's no escape for you tonight, my friend. Your fate signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Courtesy of Razor Fist. Incredible. He's still conscious, still fighting. Oh, baby, I've never tasted anybody like you. It's almost a shame to turn you over to Roche. I'd so love to keep you for myself, but a contract's a contract. Don't worry, though. We'll wake you up in time to die. And there's that white media stuff again. Nice.
Claremont has stated that his work on Wolverine in 88 is a mashup of Conan the Barbarian and Terry and the Pirates. So that's where we're getting the John Buscema thing from. And we're getting Wolverine in some kind of pirate adventure in Southeast Asia. So what do you think? Does this work? Let me know. Should I do a read-through of issues 4, 5, and 6 and continue this story arc, bring this to a close eventually? Are you enjoying it? Is this something that you found to be to your taste when it comes to a Wolverine story? It doesn't exactly work with me. I know that as a kid, I initially just bought this issue and did not buy the rest. And I'm reading the other issues for the first time. And I feel the same way I did when I was 12 years old or 13 years old. I do have an appreciation, of course, for Buscema's craft, although it is incredibly loose in this. And I don't find it very inspired in terms of how much love I'm seeing on the page from either Buscema or Klaus Janson. Although those guys are both really great at working fast and getting things done and being readable. Razor Fist is the worst. But again, your taste may vary, and that's totally fine. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Previously in X-Men. Thank you very much for hanging with me and watching this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments below if you want me to read more. Of course, you can find out more about our work in Group of 7 Comics at group7comics.com, where we are still, selling copies of our original trade, Group of 7, A Most Secret Tale. And there's more coming with the Peregrines in the future, very soon, I hope. And you can find out more about the events that we'll be at right there on the main page. So please check that out. You can follow on social media at Group of 7 Comics. We'll see you next week when we cover Uncanny X-Men 229. Click like on the video, please. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with any friends that you think would be interested in such content. Thank you, Bubs. And go Leafs go. See you next time.